The defense is expected to start presenting its case in the Ahmaud Arbery murder trial today. Earlier, William Bryan's lawyer asked the judge for a directed verdict, arguing that there is not enough evidence against his client. Soon, lawyers for the three defendants will start calling witnesses to the stand. Earlier, we spoke with CBS News producer Erica Brown, who has been covering this trial since the beginning, and I asked her about the arguments we can expect from the defense team.
Well, we can expect the defense to argue that Travis McMichael, who we saw on that cell phone footage struggling with Ahmaud Arbery, acted in self-defense, and we'll likely hear the defense argue that leading up to that shooting, the defendants were trying to make a lawful citizen's arrest. They'll likely point to some of the concerns that residents in the neighborhood had about theft and burglaries, and some of the surveillance footage that depicted Ahmaud Arbery actually on that open construction site on multiple occasions prior to the day that he was killed. Now, prosecutors actually referenced some of those concerns during their case as well, and we heard from some residents themselves who said that they were concerned generally about some of the things that were going on in the neighborhood and discussed it on their neighborhood Facebook page. But it's important to note that the residents said they never saw Ahmaud Arbery commit a crime, and the law enforcement officers who also testified said that there was no evidence linking him to any of those thefts and burglaries. But we do really expect the defendants to point to that concern and that the effort that was being made was to do a lawful citizen's arrest and detain Ahmaud Arbery for the law enforcement to arrive later.
One of the prosecution's final witnesses, Erica, was the medical examiner who performed Arbery's autopsy. What did we learn from his testimony?
That's right. That was Dr. Edmund Donahue who performed the autopsy, and we learned from him that Ahmaud Arbery died from multiple gunshot wounds. Two of those three gunshot wounds were sustained from one single shot. He had a wound to his wrist, a wound to his chest, and that indicated that there was a struggle for a gun, a hand struggle, which we saw in that cell phone footage. We also learned that there was significant blood loss from Ahmaud Arbery from those shots, and there was nothing that any first responders could do on the scene to save his life.
You know, the jury saw some pretty graphic photos of Arbery's gunshot wounds. His mother has been in the courtroom consistently. She saw video of her child being killed, dying, video that she had deliberately avoided before, but she chose to stay in the courtroom for that. How is she holding up? How is she handling the testimony?
And during those graphic images as they were being displayed for the jury, Wanda Cooper Jones, she sat with her head down. She was silent. She closed her eyes. She clasped her hands together, and she sat there as those images of her son were being displayed to the public. Now, she was able to sit for a good portion of Dr. Donahue's testimony as he detailed some of those photos, but a little more than 30 minutes in, she excused herself from the courtroom.
What was their jury's reaction, Erica, when some of those horrific images were shown?
Well, the jury was very attentive. One was actually sitting all the way forward in her chair. All of their eyes were fixated on those photos. They were focused on Dr. Donahue's testimony, as well as the direct examination, the questions coming from the prosecutors, all of them laser focused. We didn't see any emotion in terms of a reaction from the graphic nature of it, but they were all very, very attentive, keyed in to those images.
The lead investigator on the case also took the stand yesterday. He was asked a lot about the video evidence in the case. What did we learn from him?
Yeah, his testimony was focused on some of the drone footage that kind of reenacted the path that was taken by Ahmaud Arbery as he ran, as well as the defendants as they pursued him. And he kind of went through the timeline of when they left their homes, when Ahmaud Arbery ultimately was confronted. We also learned during cross-examination from Kevin Go, who's the attorney for William Roddie Bryan, that there was a portion in that drone footage that showed where Roddie Bryan actually stopped his truck truck, backed up as Ahmaud Arbery trying to change direction, and then changed direction with him and continued to pursue him. So there was a little discrepancy there where the attorney argued perhaps it was Ahmaud Arbery that was following his client. But Agent Dow confirmed based on that drone footage and also based on the cell phone footage that William Bryant had captured himself, that the path was where he had consistently pursued, even stopping, backing up, changing direction to continue to chase Ahmaud Arbery.
On Monday, the judge in this case refused to declare mistrial after one of the defense attorneys took issue with Rev Al Sharpton and other religious figures sitting with the Arbery family. As you know, Erica, the attorney said, quote, "We don't want any black pastors coming in here." And then the judge called his comments reprehensible. Since then, have we heard anything from Rev Sharpton, or have we seen Rev Sharpton or any others in court with the family?
What we heard from Rev Sharpton, he responded to those comments saying that they were an insult to the Arbery family. He also said that they were biased, that it was the same bias that killed Ahmaud Arbery. Reverend Jesse Jackson was in court on Monday. He sat with Arbery's parents in the back of the courtroom, and he said it was his moral obligation to be there to support the family. And we expect now Rev Sharpton to be here at the Glenn County Courthouse tomorrow afternoon with potentially more than 100 black pastors joining the family in a prayer in front of the courthouse. And we're learning from community leaders that after that, they intend to march from the courthouse to a memorial site of Ahmaud Arbery's.
All right, Erica, we appreciate it as always. Thank you.
Thank you.